My name is Tracy Inman. I am from Western Kentucky University, the Center for Gifted Studies there in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I am also the parent representative on the board for NAGC. I think when you're looking at IQ scores, there is a great difference when you're looking at, and we call it one standard deviation away from the norm. So if the norm is a 100 IQ, if you go 115 to 80, those are the kids who are typically in school, and a lot of teachers do a pretty good job of addressing their needs. But when you go to 130 to 145, it's very, very different. It's funny because if you go on the other end of the spectrum and you're looking at folks with 55 IQs, most of those kids will have 1-on-1.8s. But when you go the other end to 145, it depends on what your laws are, but most of those kids can be in a regular classroom. So for garden variety gifted, which would be about a 130, they can struggle sometimes in the classroom and not be challenged enough. But the higher the IQ, the faster the pace, the greater the complexity needs to be, and they just need great modifications in order to be able to learn what they're capable of learning. For students who are highly gifted, acceleration is a wonderful option for them. But realize that's just part of the problem. Of course, if a student is 8-10 years ahead of the grade level, you're not going to necessarily do that. And anytime you grade accelerate, there will be gaps in their knowledge, but that can typically be picked up pretty quickly once you notice those gaps. So I would suggest acceleration. There's an instrument in the United States called the Iowa Acceleration Scale that has really good psychometrics, and it's a pretty good indicator because it doesn't just look at the cognitive level of the child, but the social, emotional, family, and that kind of thing, which is very important. But other services will need to be there. Ideally, when you're looking at highly gifted children, or any gifted children, the more time they can be with kids like themselves, the more they'll grow cognitively, socially, and emotionally. So, if there were a magnet school type thing for the highly gifted, you're going to see tremendous growth with those kids as long as the teachers are trained and they know what they're doing and how to do it, and they're following best practice, research-based practice. So I would recommend to have children together as frequently as possible, even if that's just one time a week that they're pulled out. That's better than nothing. And I think perhaps one of the best things that can happen to really make systemic changes would be making sure that all teachers have training in teaching high ability children. In most places, we do get training for exceptional children, but typically that's the lower end of the spectrum. And we know there are those other kids on the higher end of the spectrum that cut across all demographics. So teachers really need to be equipped with how to do it and how to make it work in a regular classroom. But that takes leadership who understands it. And ideally, you've got laws that enforce that, so they'll be held accountable if they're not. I do get quite a few phone calls from desperate parents with desperate children. And quite honestly, a lot of us are in the field of gifted education because we gave birth to gifted kids and really didn't know what to do with them. That would be my case. And my heart aches for these folks because they are limited oftentimes by what their school system allows, what their policies and procedures are, what the laws are for the country that can really dictate. So oftentimes you are constrained by that. And there are a few ways around it. For example, I remember when my children were in elementary school and we had quite a few teachers who didn't really know much about gifted education. I became very active in the school. I would bring in resources for gifts for the teachers. Instead of candy in a coffee cup, it would be a book that was from one of the experts in the field. And teachers are very happy to get those. And I also made sure that the school was getting information from our local state organization as well as our national organization. So whatever could happen, that's one way, is to get information out to folks. But again, you're going to have to be coming in a partnership and a sense of collegiality and not opposition with that. So I would say that, participating in the schools, and I often encourage folks to go steps farther than that and participate in the school board or whatever type of system you have. Because I tell parents, you can fight the exact same battle every year with your new teachers, or you can do it school-wide, district-wide. For us, it's states. For you guys, country, to really affect change. But that takes quite a while. So parents, something else that you could do would be look for enrichment opportunities for your children. And that could be weekend programs, summer camps, after-school opportunities. Try to find times when you can get kids together who are like your child so that you can see friendships blossom and things like that.